Hello, hello, everybody. Hi. Okay, let me see. Hi, Tony C. Oh, thank you. Watching Council of Masters. That's so sweet. Hi, Desert Rain, and thank you guys for the birthday wishes. Hi, Meatball. Hi, Petite Penguin. Hey, Soil Lodge. And hi, Franz. And hi, Samantha. And hi, Ivor. Hola. And hi, Jandon. Okay, great. Thank you guys so much for being here. Hi, Corey Anderson. 5x5. Hello. Thank you so much. All right, so we are going to be covering a lot today. Hello, Chris Corley. Oh, so some of you guys are not on my Twitter, so I've got to show you guys. We've got new magazines to look at because we literally have the children of God with the process, and it's freaking astounding. The timing of this because it's interesting. The New York Attorney General, who their scathing report of the children of God is really something else. But we have the process doing the exact same thing that Heber was. It's an attack on their religious freedom. Okay, whatever you say, because today's going to be some reading, guys. Content warning, obviously, going to avoid as much as we can. But we are going to read through this report. It's 60 pages. No, we're not going to read every page. We are going to do some comparisons. I already have it pulled up because I'm going to show you guys how similar the children of God is to the process. I have the page pulled up in those old court records, almost identical. Also very similar to the Guardian's office in particular. It's really fascinating. But we have a lot to get through. You know what I mean? Hey, Bob. Hello. And R. Taylor. Good evening. Henry Viper. P. Thomas. And thank you so much for the birthday wishes, guys. Hi, Don Lambert. All right. So I decided we're going to run the Cropsy intro because I need a little bit of a happy song. Okay. At least it's like one of my favorite songs. I know that they're freaking Processians, okay, but I don't care. I love the song, so let's go. Wow, that was so laggy on my side, but don't forget we are literally out here fighting demons, y'all. Jandon, thank you so much. That's really nice. Thank you for that super chat. That's really sweet. Thank you. It was a birthday, but yes, to the lost, and I love you back. And hi, Tom Cooper. Thank you so much, and thank you for being here. And let me see who else I missed. Hey, Jay Snyder. Hi, Annie Kurtz. And T. Sean. Hello. And let me see. Please don't drive. Oh, I thought you said you were driving. Your uncle's driving you crazy. That's fine. That's totally fine. Just please don't text and drive. Yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, we're using the white shades, the white love. We got to bring some good energy to this. You know what I mean? Because it's very very dark, and I don't love it, but it is necessary. Now, I'm going to show you guys first the crux of this, and you guys have got to let me know if I get super laggy because I'm trying a new program. So, just to let you guys know what's going on behind the scenes, uh, I am in contact right now with a university, and I'm trying to get some files from them specifically about the process. Why won't this thing move? And they're being kind of weird about it, if I'm gonna be honest. Like, I have to sign a waiver and I have to pay money for this paperwork. But they sent me this program for a PDF editor because apparently whatever I was using was super ghetto. So let me know if it gets laggy. But Virginia found me the magazine that I was looking for. So I'm going to show you guys this first edition of this different process magazine because this was where I found them saying children of God, legitimate. But we're going to look through all of it. We're obviously not going to read everything. And thank you guys for the birthday wishes. I appreciate it. So let me go ahead and get this pulled up really quick. Okay. And if this looks terrible, just let me know and I'll switch it back to the other thing next time. I don't want to like screw it up right now any more than I have to. So here we go. Visions of the Millennium Process, Volume 1, Number 1. So, right there, Children of God, legitimate. And here is all of their interesting artwork. Obviously, you know, they got to have the dogs on there, right? Got to. Got to, got to. Visions of a Millennium. Look at all that propaganda. Look at it. Look at it. I want all those handouts so bad. Look at this. Look at this little pile of magazines right here. Let me see if I can zoom in. Oh, it's gonna be funky. Okay, there we go. See that? I want that. Because it says right here, Mother Diana behind bars, the inside story. What did Mother Diana do? What did that hoe do? I want to know. Jandon, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you. Stop it. I mean it. Stop it with the super chats. It's really kind. All right, now, here they are talking about aliens. Whatever. Anyways, I don't really care about aliens. You guys know how I feel about that. Moving on. And there is Father Malachi, aka Peter McCormick. There he is. Dude has got some amazing hair. You know what I mean? He really, really does. And here are all of its contents. And prophecy, nature, healing, humor. Look at that, right? And moving on, a completely unique audio experience, a mind expanding trip that takes you to another world. They have some very interesting ads in here. Very interesting. And let's keep going. Also, some interesting faces. So here is Mr. Michael Mountain, aka Hugh Mountain, aka Father Aaron Tubal Kane, with his pupper. Yeah. And moving on. This thing is long. Sorry, guys, but you guys need to see it. Jandon, you cut it out. I'm not going to close the screen. You cut it out. Thank you so much. But you stop it. Okay, so this is, letters that people write in. I don't really care. I'm so over their propaganda, it's not even funny. I really am. Let's keep going and tell me if I get laggy. Because there's one thing that I do need to highlight in one of these ads. The energy crisis. Is this the beginning of the end? Do you see how long that they've been doing this, guys? When they sit there and tell you that, like, the weather's bad and energy crisis, shut up. Shut up. They've been saying this for forever. The population bomb. Someone had asked me on Twitter if that was Mr. Population Bomb. Yes, it is. A-bombs will be the rage of the future. Whatever. Anyways, it's all about fear with these people, you know what I mean? And so to God. Don't get me wrong, they're great at the propaganda, right? We all know that by now. That's the only respect that I give them. And there is Robert de Grimston, aka Robert Sylvester Moore de Grimston. Jandon, you better stop it. Sir, how much chanting? Stop. You stop it. And I don't know what this is. The meeting looks a little spooky to me, but I also wonder if that's Robert in the middle. Who knows? Who really knows? So let's keep going. Here they are talking about the satanic reality, the Jehovian reality, the Luciferian reality, the Christian reality, right? Because they just believe in everything. Now, I'm sorry. Lord, forgive me. Lord, forgive me. These 2, this is the only time that this thought has ever crossed my mind. They be straight up looking like, some studs right here. It's the aviators and that thick hair for me. I'm sorry. Plus, a guy in a nice button up and a tie, they're demons, but this is the one time that I'm like, "Okay, I get it. I get it." Here they are talking about The Exorcist. I obviously do not care. And let's keep going. Okay, now here's some very fascinating artwork. I think that this is in collaboration with Stan Lee. Jandon, cut it out. I'm not trying to even be a jerk. It's very nice, but stop. How much have you been drinking? You are a sweetheart. Thank you so much. And hi, Annie Green or Auntie Green. Hello. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry. The super chats from Jandon are throwing me off. But like I said, I think that this is in collaboration with Stan Lee, but I can try to figure that out because I'm gonna upload these into my internet archive. So that way you guys can see them as well and download them for your own records. I really don't care what these people are into, but you guys know that by now. Things your horoscope didn't tell you. Don't care. Don't care about your personality test, right? I also don't wanna read anything about that. What's a pervert mom? See, like, that's disgusting. That's disgusting. Flesh-colored rights, calculated vulgarity, like, ugh. Thank you. No, thank you. Moving on. Now, let's keep going. I promise we're getting there, guys. I promise, but you gotta look through this stuff. We gotta see the propaganda. What are they doing? Slightly satanic messiah. Mhm. Too much, too soon? Oh, here's one page right here. After a year of lying, cheating, stealing, conniving, and covering up, how about a little honesty? New times this year. Now, I would direct you to, is it going to let me highlight it? Probably not. Who's this name right here? Let's make this a little bit bigger. Right there, that is Mr. Jimmy Breslin. That is Mr. Jimmy, the dog told me to do it, Breslin of the Breslin letters of the Son of Sam. Yeah? So that's pretty interesting to me because just like Scientology, the process is very particular about what they put into their publications. So that, mhm, and that's going to be something else we're going to be discussing because I found a lot of interesting stuff thanks to that specifically. But let's get to the children of God first. We're almost there, I promise. Exorcising the exorcist, washing America in the blood of the goat. Okay. All right. Whatever you say. Whatever you say. We're almost there, guys. Deep breaths. See, like, look at this nasty stuff, like more bloody sex. They're disgusting. They are disgusting. And here's some more ads. Here we go. This is what we want. So, religions today, children of God, legitimate, a profile. Now, I'm not going to read this entire thing. However, I'm going to show you guys this first before we get into the children of God stuff. Okay? They are literally arm in arm with the children of God talking about, and I'm going to show you guys in a second because the timing is fascinating with this investigation that came out in New York specifically, but right here. So, who is Mo? Mo is Moses, Moses David, late David Berg, in his mid 50s, son of a Swedish ex opera star turned preacher father. His mother, they say, was daughter of the Bible belting preacher man who went on to become one of your California millionaires. Mm-hmm. And they just give a very whitewashed brief history, right? And right here, they're talking about Mr. Ted Patrick. It's very interesting. So the Antog or Children of God movement. So he did start Free Cog or Free Children of God, which turned into the Citizens Freedom Foundation, which ended up turning into the Cult Awareness Network. So isn't that fascinating? See how all of these things are coming together? Yeah, they really are. Now, right over here, this side is, whoop, let me get this over here. Okay, so the process predicts that the children of God will become more socially aware and oriented in the coming years as the members get older. Even now, the contact I've had with Leviticus and Abishur could not have happened 2 years ago. And right here, who is this? Dr. Will Herberger, writer of the classic American work on religious sociology, Protestant Catholic Jew, contended that Children of God, which he characterizes as a highly organized, highly centralized, and fairly authoritarian group, would become a tiny Protestant denomination. Okay, whatever. Now, down here, the children of God are not Jesus freaks. Many Jesus freaks tend to have cars with bumper stickers, which tend to say something snooty, like, Our God is not dead. Sorry about yours. The nearest your average children of God gets to a car is a pair of tire soiled sandals. That's a damn lie. And right here is the money shot. So, Children of God's zeal has upset many, like parents and their agents. Like religious bodies, most establishment fundamentalists regard them as a thorn in the flesh or a pain in the ass. Like state bodies, the New York Attorney General's office has recently put out an interim report about Children of God, accusing them of brainwashing, forced membership, begging, and personality distortion. People say that sort of thing from time to time. St. Paul, for example, was, according to many, a big offender. Leviticus is upset. He just doesn't understand somebody who can see the children of God like that. The children of God who are his salvation. One upsetting thing about some newspaper reports of the report is the implication that Children of God has been fraudulent in its dealings since the state investigation was done by the Charity Frauds Bureau. There is no evidence that Children of God has been found to be fraudulent, and it would be nice if that point had been made clear. And so it goes. Oh, Leviticus, it's a long, hard road you've chosen. Walk on the sunny side as much as you can. Now, for anybody who knows a damn thing about the children of God, this is frickin' nuts. Thank you so much, Soil Lodge. This information is for everyone. It's the least we can do. Thank you guys. Stop it. I appreciate you, but you guys cut it out. And Aspa 60, the end just never comes, but let's keep selling the sizzle. That's right, Mr. Alex. Just wanting to ask, will you be doing a video on Greaves, the Satanic Temple, and the connection to the process? Oh, hell yeah, I'm going to. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Mode 85. Let me see. Hey, Peter Pan, Deli was a fascist. Hey, Fire Truck, and let me see. Hey, Jack and Lootfisk. I am so sorry that I cut off Johnny. I didn't mean to. And hey, Fire Pixie. I want to make sure I'm catching everybody. Sorry, guys. All right, so yeah, I am absolutely going to be covering Greaves because I didn't know about that dude. That was an accident. That was literally an accident. I was looking on my phone, looking for process stuff. Sometimes I go on Pinterest because sometimes you get little nuggets. And I just see this dude with this process tattoo. And I said, Is that the guy from the Satanic Temple? Oh my God, it is. And then obviously I went down the rabbit hole and now I can't unknow it, which is kind of driving me nuts. But it is what it is. I will absolutely be covering him because that whole thing is like extremely suspicious. Straight up. But apparently there's like a whole QAnon sort of vibe with like the monarch community with that. And apparently it's a delicate topic for some people, as these things often are. Now, before we get to the Children of God report, I would like to show you guys the magazine that was being referenced in that last magazine that we just read, the New Times, okay? Because that stuck out to me because again, the propaganda, you have to pay attention to it when you're researching these people. This is the way that they proselytize, recruit, whatever you want to call it, okay? But I would point out that some of these things, and I am going to have to cut off part of the screen because I forgot that they have a naked butt of a guy running on one side. Anyways, so let me pull up this first one so I could show you guys because I can't find an archive of this actual magazine. I can only find a website that just has a couple of pages uploaded. But tell me that this does not look like some processy and BS because it does. In my opinion, it does. So wait for this to pop up. Is it coming? Okay, perfect. So this is from the New Times Magazine, 1969 to 1978. Great moments in decadence. Yeah? So let's see if I can zoom in. I'm scared. Okay, right here. So look at what they have. They have Altamont. They have the Manson family. Yeah? Very interesting choices for great moments in decadence. And obviously, right here, it's about time. A restaurant catering exclusively to dogs opens in New York. That makes me think that the process is on the board or is involved in these publications, quite frankly, because that's just ridiculous. Some straight up processy and BS. Now, I stop sharing this for a second because I have to make sure that I'm not showing the other side of this. You guys stop. I am not putting the naked butt on here. Stop it. I'm going to turn the things off. Cut it out. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but like stop. I don't deserve that. Stop it. Anyways, let's go ahead and go to the next page. Let me make sure. Ooh, his little butt crack is hiding on the side. Hold on. I got to zoom it in a little bit more. Hold on. I'm not gonna get banned off of Twitter for nudity. Okay, here we go. But you guys have to see this page because it's really important. Okay, so here we go. Here is the next page. Okay. Whew, that was close. Okay. Right here. Free the Berkowitz Criminal Justice Agency recommends that David Berkowitz be released without bail on his own recognizance since he has a permanent residence and a steady job. Okay. Now, this is still the time of decadence. I would also like to point out what they have right there. Snuff films. Snuff films. That's what they have on there. Snuff films. So we have snuff films, David Berkowitz, a restaurant catering to dogs opening, and the idea of the Manson family and what happened at Altamont as decadence. Right? That's lovely. I think that that is just like some straight up processing and BS, but that's just my personal opinion. Now, let me get this next thing ready. Okay, so let me check the chat one more time. Sorry, guys, we're doing a bit reading today. I'm sorry. It is what it is. It's going to be a little bit boring. Now, those rabbit holes have so many offshoots, but they need exploring. Yes, indeed they do. And let me see. Better give her buy me a coffee. They take 5%. YouTube takes 30. Well, I mean, hey, for the people that might be money laundering on YouTube, that's a pretty cheap cut. You know what I mean? We found Greaves aligned with William Morrison, who was interviewed as the head of the Satanic Temple, which was interesting because we thought Greaves was the guy. Looks like he is the face. Yeah? Well, like I said, guys, I just learned about him, but now I can't unknow it. So making it everybody else's problem, even though I'm late to the party, but I'll get there. I'll get there eventually. Many Children of God music clips and films out there. One is called Seconds to Go. Maybe great intro material for you. That is a great point. Thank you so much. Yeah, I haven't watched any of their propaganda in a really long time. For obvious reasons, it's really disgusting. But I think that this interim report from the New York Attorney General is absolutely fascinating. And again, we're not going to sit here and read the entire thing. I've highlighted what I believe is important. And then I'm just going to show you guys a couple of comparisons to the process news court record. Sorry, guys. So let me get this one pulled up. And away we go. Now, and again, please tell me if I get super laggy, okay? But here we go. The final report on the activities of the children of God. Right there. September 30th, 1974. Man, 1974 was a real wacky year, it seems. We had this conversation last. So, right here, the investigation, I guess, started on February 13th, 1973. And obviously, highlighting here everything that they are looking into. Hey, Carl Hassel. All right. Slowly, the organization, through its attorneys, was orally requested to cooperate with the investigation. All the requests were refused. They subpoenaed known members of the group at the Staten Island commune. Uh-oh. Who else is in Staten Island? Robert de Grimston, Willowbrook, and the Process Church of the Final Judgment through their program at Willowbrook. Imagine that. So right here, obtain an order of the Supreme Court, New York County, directing Children of God, a Texas corporation in dissolution, to attend and testify concerning the corporate finances. It was disregarded. Imagine that. So on January 8th of 1974, the interim report was published. They reached out. Obviously, this is a nationwide problem. They were also getting nationwide reports, but 15 attorney generals indicated that local law enforcing agencies did have some explicit knowledge of the children of God. And this is the final report summary of the investigation by the Charity Frauds Bureau. Now, obviously, I'm going to have to go back and be digging through every single predecessor group and shell corporation that they had, right? Because we've got Teens for Christ, Revolutionaries for Jesus, and they absolutely were the Jesus freaks and Jesus people at one point. Literally at the same time as the process, because I found that in a newspaper. If someone will be kind enough to remind me, I will pull it up from my Twitter. Anyways, so here we go. They have warrants out for them at this time. The warrants haven't been executed. And look at this. 120 communes and at least 5 are presently located in the New York State. They became an adjunct in 1970 of the American Soul Clinic Incorporated. They were occupying properties of the former employer of David Berg, aka Moses, located in LA, Coachella, and Thurber, Texas. And again, I'm not here to give like the entire thing, but this was very interesting to me for you guys on this ride with me. Remember, the process had their what was it? The amnesty program, right? So they had the amnesty program that was set up with the US government. That was an agreement that was set up. I think it's very interesting that they're kind of doing this from a different angle. They are just handing out ministerial licenses, right? By this American Soul Clinic. And here they give some of the reasons. I think that this is very interesting as far as a similarity to both the process and Scientology. A new convert was required to write out his past history and encouraged to emphasize and oftentimes exaggerate to use of drugs, criminal involvement, and other self-incriminating acts. Such information was later used to convince a parent that his offspring was better off with the group. It also gave the group a firmer hold on the convert. And right here, a new convert was taught complete subservience to the group and that all government was of Satan, thus making them enemies of established society and ultimately enemies of established religion. Doesn't that sound like the gray forces? Doesn't that sound like the gray forces? Like, seriously, that's what it sounds like to me. But let's go ahead and move on. So right here, this is breaking down the hierarchy within the church, specifically regional commanders, elders, colony leaders, tribe leaders, assistant tribe leaders, disciples, and the new members called babes. And I think that this is a brilliant observation by this man. The use of Bible names is quite evidently for purposes of anonymity and to avoid law enforcement, just like the Process Church of the Final Judgment, right? Because remember, they had phases where they had 2 names. Now, this is also very interesting This is literally just like the process. Remember, like the Stuhl dialogues? So the Moses letters. Some are permitted only to top leaders, just like the Stuhl dialogues. See? See how it's the same? It's very similar. Okay, so Mo letter reprinting list, blah, 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 blah. This is breaking down a lot of money. They have not given any of the information at this time, but they did specify that their financial records were not being kept in New York. Okay, that's the first place that I would be looking. And right here, this is very, very interesting to me for any of my maybe legal beagle folks. It is interesting to note that in Texas, where Children of God was involved in litigation between it and various parents and others, when the defendants, the parents, obtained court orders for discovery and inspection of books and records, the case was suddenly withdrawn and terminated. Huh, isn't that fascinating? I wonder why. Now, look at that. The communes are in Staten Island, Troy, Albany, and Rochester. I bet that they are. I am sure I have like such a bad feeling that these people were targeting Willowbrook in such a big way. And this is something that has been overlooked or ignored. It bothers me very, very much. Anyways, continuing. So this says that Berg and members of his family are in Europe, blah, 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 blah. Really acting like the process, in my opinion. Now, right here, this is talking about parents seeing their children, right? So it says virtually every parent testified that his child appeared not to be himself, drugged, in a trance, or in a hypnotic state during the initial visit and subsequent occasional visits to the parental home. The total value of monies, cars, and other personal property donated by members in the metropolitan New York area alone is impossible to calculate. And later on, they are going to talk about their brainwashing techniques. This is interesting. They are posing as Bible college students. And from the sale of certain Moses letters for the week ending on May 23rd, 1974, at the Staten Island commune alone, gross receipts were $2,144. Staten Island was pretty poppin' back then for these, pedophiles, these pedophile cults, yeah? And then obviously substantial contributions by businessmen using schools. I'm very curious using Willowbrook. Here's another one of their companies, Youth for Truth. And right here, they are highlighting specifically that a major contributor was directed by the Children of God's attorneys to donate through Youth for Truth, not the Children of God, because the Children of God was not tax exempt, and therefore that tax deduction would not be effective. A little bit of money laundering going on, in my opinion. But right here, Youth for Truth Incorporated is both an alter ego and conduit of Children of God for the single purpose of funneling contributions to Children of God. Bada boom, bada bing, right? So that's that. Now, let me check the chat really quick because it's moving. And obviously, no, I don't want to sit here and read this entire thing. It's a pain in the butt. And it's a lot of like new money, whatever. And it's like, show me the important stuff. You know what I mean? Hello, Eshni. Thank you so much. And 30% is a bad deal for us, though, because we aren't money laundering, right? I'm not money laundering. Hell no. If I was money laundering or doing something illegal, man, I mean, come on. There's so many other options for females on the internet. You know what I mean? Hey, Chow. Hello. And it puts a whole new meaning to Coachella. Yes, it does. And let me see. Mr. Alex. All right, so you guys are talking about the process and Greaves. Please, line it up. You know what I mean? Hey, Echo Cat, no worries. So glad that you're here. Thank you for dropping in. And let me make sure I'm not missing anybody else. And Ed Opperman is from Staten Island. Shut up. No, he's not. Man. Is he really? I've heard a lot of bad things about Ed Opperman. A lot of bad things. I don't like that guy. He denied that well, he made a claim that he was told that the Franklin scandal didn't happen, and then he blocked me. So, I have some information about Ed Oberman that I've just been kind of like keeping in a, random inbox by a trusted source, but I just didn't want to talk about it anytime soon. Dana is saying, No, I am not, Jandon. That is not appropriate. How does money laundering even work? In the movies, they just put it in a dryer or something. Oh, you're thinking like Ozarks type of vibes, right? Where they're literally washing it to make it look dirty. Hey, Amy Cheapo. Yes, Opperman is from Staten Island. Well, that's great. That's great. Then I guess I'm gonna be looking into that. I'm coming for you, Opperman. I'm coming for all of them. You know what I mean? I'm coming for everybody because I've heard some really wild stuff about Opperman that he like happens to be in certain places and doesn't really say anything. You know what I mean? So that's kind of weird. We're gonna skip like there's some warrants out for the mother of the right of the cult. Yeah, Mother Mary, whatever. Now, this is one thing, and I think it's probably the only thing that I'm gonna show you guys that is identical to what we found in the court records from the process, because it just really stuck out to me in particular. So this is part of their doctrine. Let me get this up really quick. So we'll read this first. And there we go. So, Children of God doctrine, hatred of parents. And I'm not going to sit here and read all of these Bible verses. Obviously, these things are taken out of context, but right here. And now the kids want to kill their parents. You can hardly blame them. I've felt like that myself. May God deliver me from being around these systemites. So, what they would call what the process would call the gray forces, they call systemites. They're just changing words, but that's the system. They're against the system. So literally switch this with the process. May God deliver me from being around these gray forces. You know what I mean? I'd hate to think of what I might do if I'd had a Tommy gun sometimes. I might have been tempted to mow them down. I would have made a hell of a communist. Now, why did I highlight that sentence? Not because I'm like anti communism. It's because this is straight up like Red Scare propaganda. Should give you a really good hint of what's being funded behind this. The Vatican. Anyways, moving on. Let me see if there's anything else here about killing their parents. Okay, there's not. So now, let me pull up the process stuff because no, we're not going to read through all the process court records. You know what I mean? That was a hellscape. But where did it go? It didn't close, you little nasty. So where are you? There we go. Well, why did it do that? Oh, sorry, guys. This new thing that I'm using is very confusing. But whatever, the college said I had to have it to get these papers that I'm gonna get. I'm wondering what's in them because there's a list about an informant. So let me do this. Yep, that's what I want. Share, please. Uh-huh. And are we going? Oh, beautiful. We're here. Okay. So this is from page 37 of the lawsuit in the UK against Ed Sanders that they lost. And it's really fascinating because literally this is Brother Dominic Luther, aka Ken from Australia, Ken from the process. The need to kill your parents. Huh? How about that? How about them apples? That's all I have to show you. We're not going to sit here and go through all this crap again because I am working on breaking this down and, you know, getting it ready for my smaller tidbits of Manson. You know what I mean? Because that stuff was completely miserable. I know that. But, that's a very serious, direct, identical order, so to speak. You know what I mean? Now, let me see. I don't want to read through this whole thing. But let's go ahead and look at their explanation of government and society. You guys will have to forgive my language, but these people are disgusting, so it's not my words. You know what I mean? So, part of the doctrine in regards to government and society from the Moses letter, America the Whore. It's time for the rape of America. but they're trying to respect her. She doesn't deserve respect. She's an old whore. And all her little European money pimps better dump her or they'll go down with her. I think that that is very interesting because many of us do know that there is a lot of MI5, MI6 involvement. There's also a lot of other British intelligence money going on right here as well. We know this with the de Grimstons. We've proven this with the de Grimstons, period. But I just thought that that was very interesting. And again, in comparison to, the process, former religious affiliations ready to declare war on the church system. Okay, whatever you say. They equated David Berg with God. Attitudes towards education, they said it is a compulsory religion. I think that the choice of words, compulsory, compulsions analysis, might be a reach. I might need a ladder for that reach. However, I thought that it was interesting. And obviously, like all of these other cults, they are recruiting in high school and college campuses. And just like Scientology, they believe that doctors do not heal, except, Scientology are going clear, but they say, only God heals. Well, isn't David Berg God? Right? So that's a little bit misleading to the newer converts. Yeah. And moving on. Now, this is in regards to the indoctrination phase, and no, not going to read all of this, but we have Tavistock entering the chat here in a few minutes, which is really exciting for me. So in the beginning, it's 5 days of isolation, and I hate that they call them babes. I think it's really disgusting. But they make them sign the revolutionary sheet. It is an agreement. Yeah. Here's what's interesting about this revolutionary sheet. In those court records from the process, remember, Tessa Ventris detailed a waiver being signed when you were brought into the process church of the final judgment, signing off on your mental health that you could not come after them if it deteriorated. That's a very interesting similarity to me. So, right here, a former Children of God leadership states lack of sleep, just drilling and drilling them. It went on for days. People lost track of all time, complete physical exhaustion, very extreme art and technique that they have developed of switching teachers, talking about teachers coming in and out, and the teachers are refreshed and ready to go. And these people have been up for days, and that's very disorienting and very confusing. Says the second stage of indoctrination may last from 3 to 6 months. Time stress is placed upon intensive memorization of selected biblical verses taken out of context. And it is during this stage that the babe is introduced to the Moses letters and Children of God lesson plans, which will eventually become the main source of instruction. Now, mind manipulation, brainwashing, or thought control. Yeah? So, this is to change established behavior patterns. Psychological cruelties, such as bodily deprivation of all sorts and forced memorization of biblical passages, a total assault on the psyche is accomplished. And right here, several disciples in continuous and long sessions cornering the prospect and by argumentation interspersed with biblical quotes wear him down both mentally and physically. This sounds like Synanon. This sounds like Phoenix House. This sounds like the process. This sounds like Scientology. This sounds like every other freaking cult that I can think of, including the People's Temple. Because for the people that are familiar with Jim Jones, they have it on audio where people are beating the crap out of each other. Seriously. When I say that these people were all doing the exact same thing, they were. This is their version of the game. This is the game. And that's what it is. Right here, the process of mind manipulation, extremely controlled atmosphere. And this is very interesting. Biblical tapes are played constantly and loudly, kind of like Jim Jones. Kind of like Dr. Ewan Cameron and MK Ultra and psychic driving. Yeah. Repatterning. Sounds very familiar. These seem like really complex forms of brainwashing and mind control that some random person wouldn't be able to put together if their life depended on it. This is methodical. I would just like to point that out to people. And again, right here, the consent which most converts sign upon entry into the cult. Because again, the process did the exact same thing, even though nobody wants to talk about it. Now, right here, this is very much so, like the Guardian's office. For anyone who is familiar with the Church of Scientology, with actual fair game, with black operations run by the Guardian's office or Office of Special Affairs, OSA, whatever the hell you want to call it, Hubbard himself took it to this extreme. Obedience demanded of all members extended to even killing. I was told by an older member that if my leaders told me to kill, I would have to kill someone, but I hesitated on that and asked them why. He said, well, we are not under the law and we are responsible only to our leaders who are responsible to us, to God for us. I apologize. Now, let's keep going. This is where the Vatican kind of enters the chat. If the member does not obey, he may be subjected to solitary confinement and, in extreme cases, a rather crude form of exorcism done in the name of David Berg rather than Jesus before being thrown out. And right here, there is no gray area. Everything is viewed in terms of black and white. There are no neutrals. Sounds like the inner processian sort of BS. You know what I mean? That's what it sounds like to me. Because, like, everybody else out there is part of the gray zone. Yeah? So the gray zone. We're on the inside. Whatever. Thank you so much, Jandon. The mind stuff is really important to me to get out to the masses so they quit falling for all the horse shit that they put out. Thank you. And I'm missing some of the chat, guys. I'm sorry. I got into the cog rabbit hole because I blame them for the death of River Phoenix. I don't disagree. I think that this Children of God stuff is like extremely dark. And obviously my suspicion has been that like they're all moving in lockstep, but they are all literally moving in lockstep. But now you guys are going to be able to see it. You know what I mean? Because it's just a tweaking of the language, a tweaking of their belief system, a tweaking of their theology. But we all know what the Children of God was. It was a pedophile, incest, sex trafficking cult, which is completely disgusting. Now let me skip down to the next part because I want to get to Tavistock. It's not much, but I at least want to show you guys. And I'm really not going to read too much of the testimony of the underage stuff because I just don't necessarily feel that it's necessary. Most people know, and quite frankly, I don't really want to read it. But here we go. Another authority, William Sargent, author of Battle for the Mind, A Physiology of Conversion and Brainwashing, discloses the factors involved in brainwashing. These factors are also used by Children of God in its indoctrination and are similar to the brainwashing inflicted upon Korean War POWs. Jolly West, anybody? Dr. Margaret Sanger, anybody? MK Ultra, anybody? Yeah, that's what's going on here. This is exactly what's going on here. And this is all based on testimony. And no, I'm not going to sit here and read all of it. But so obviously, someone top who was pulling the strings knew exactly what they were supposed to do, right? And then this here is obviously just giving down some very interesting case histories about people's experiences, different communes that they were in particular. Now, I need to skip to the important part, and some people aren't going to like it, and everybody what to believe. Please understand that. It's good to have a belief system. I have a theological belief system. However, in the grand scheme of things, when we are looking at everything, and we have to talk about this for a second. However, when we're looking at everything in the grand scheme of things, unfortunately, at the end of the day, the Vatican is behind most of this. Okay, guys? It's literally an ungodly amount of money and power. But we're going to see them enter this too. However, is Children of God a sexuality cult? The sexual mores practiced by members of Children of God, as testified to by ex-members, is directed by Berg, who practices what he preaches. Berg, in various Moses letters, has taken a positive position on incestuous behavior, youthful intercourse, and the non-sanctity of marriage and family. These are just his letters. I'm not reading testimony, okay? That's fair. I think that is fair. However, there are also many biblical exceptions to so-called incest or the marriage of certain near relatives. All this is so freaking nasty and such a just like, ugh. Marriage of brothers and sisters, mothers and sons, and fathers and daughters. Uh, anyways, uh, I can't read that stuff about him and his kids. I really can't. So we're just gonna skip it. I will add this into the description, but I can't. I can't. This is why I stopped watching this. Fuck. Hold on. I literally like can't even look at this. That's why like none of this is highlighted because I literally cannot deal with it. I can't deal with it. I can't. It's so these are kids. These are babies that they are doing this to. I'm trying not to get emotional. It's stupid. It just makes me so mad. It makes me so mad that these people. And let's keep in mind, like just that little bit that I just read to you guys. These people were on Staten Island. These people were on Staten Island, where Willowbrook was, where the process was. Where kids were going missing and their bodies were being found. So please do not lose the plot with this. Because things have been insinuated by some people that, like, people who research these things have this sort of like sick, weird, twisted fantasy or obsession with these things and can't stop talking about it. But my point is that people don't ever really seem to get punished for this kind of stuff. They either unalive themselves or they go to jail for trafficking no one. You know what I mean? But we still have all of these, unresolved or unsolved cases specifically. And this kind of crap is why. Because don't forget the stuff about that Jonestown report. Piercing the religious veil. And the process is arm in arm with them. And they're arm in arm with Heber, with the Church of Scientology in that front group. And this is the kind of crap that they were doing. This is the kind of crap that they believed in. It makes me very angry. Let me get down here to the rest of this. Now, this is very fascinating, guys, especially for those of you who have rode out my whole like process journey with me. Because remember, these people like don't have papers, right? We know that they can just like travel wherever they want. Well, did the children of God have the exact same benefits? It would seem so. It makes use to false identification cards holding the bearer to be a student of the Children of God Bible College when no such college exists. A former member testified that in England he tore off a blank ID card from perforated sheets provided by the colony and falsely filled in the blanks, thus holding him out to be a Bible student. He was also given false credentials to expedite passage through immigration, alleging that he was on an educational tour. Oh, like the process? Fascinating. Moving on. Apparently, they have a Montessori school, or they had a Montessori school. I know some people are like really into that, and I would just say, do your research. You know what I mean? But right here, right here, the Vatican enters the chat yet again. So, prior and up to mid 1972, Children of God doctrine was strongly anti Catholic, claiming that it worshipped false idols. Then there is a letter for leadership only, dated March 18th, 1972. Refers to the God of the Catholic Church, who is the devil and the Antichrist. Now, down here, took a sharp turn in 1972. their views on the Catholic Church. Why? Faithy and Jonathan Berg were making plans to obtain a papal blessing, since this would be good for its public image in predominantly Catholic countries and would aid in it gaining acceptance in such places. Catholics for Latin America, anyone? Moving on. And right here, soon Faithy Berg established contact with Sister Magdalene of the Little Sisters of Jesus of Rome. A Moses letter, Arrivederci Roma, dated September of 1972, was thereafter published, directing members to change their prior overt attitude towards Catholicism. Now, here's all their BS. Go along with it. It's a clown show. Join the circus. October 1972, a Children of God tract was distributed under the dual title Pope Blesses Children of God and Faith's Papal Audience. Soon after this spurious claim of papal blessing, Children of God communes proliferated in predominantly Catholic countries such as Puerto Rico, Costa Rica, Spain, and Italy. The tract was also instrumental in attracting young Roman Catholics into the Children of God. Isn't that lovely? And apparently, Monsignor Eugene Clark, director of the Office of Communications at the New York Archdiocese, now please listen to his denial, because it doesn't really sound like a denial. He has advised that he was informed that this was not at all a personal audience and did not represent a message sent or given directly to the children of God. You would think that if the Vatican wasn't lining up with these people, that they would be a little more clear about it. Don't you think? Yeah? And, oh, look at this. Just like the process. Cloaking of identity. Huh? Imagine that. In order to broaden its base, Children of God adopted other entities not created with legal formality and having therefore no true legal being. Such organizations make use of various names, including Contact Jesus, Cincy Christian Faith Association, and the Toronto Christian Truth Ministry, among others. So, as I stated previously, this in Toronto, where I found them together before, that's where I will be going back, because there seems to be a lot of subterfuge of records in Toronto, which is really starting to drive me nuts. Now, here we have the New England Christian Youth Association, not real. The New England Christian Bible College, not real. Isn't that incredible? And unfortunately, someone who testified about this fraudulent information, paperwork, etc., they took their life. And I highlighted this to remind people that these things have real life consequences. These things cause real life damage. People are harmed. But people have to start understanding. I'm not telling you what to believe. But at the end of the day, when you start looking at all of these cults, and I did not think that we would be talking about the children of God yet, but when you look at them and you know, like the history of the process, I mean, that's my shtick, right? It is all the same. I never would have thought that I would be comparing the children of God to the process and saying, look at how similar they are. But here we are, right? Here we are. Now, we're almost to the end. This obviously is discussing some of the heavier Moses letters, political and sexual commentary. I would also like to note the similarities to the Process Church of the Final Judgment, aka Best Friends Animal Society. David Berg's political commentary is openly anti-Semitic. I'm not going to sit here and read that. Also, not going to read his nasty stuff about what he refers to as intimacy. And let's see the conclusion. I think that here we go. Having found that the children of God are continually moving throughout the continental United States and Puerto Rico, as well as in various parts of the Western world, it is obvious that the activities of this organization and the concomitant problems visited upon our sister states transcend the jurisdiction of the Attorney General of the state of New York. The proliferation of communes in other states makes this a problem of national import. That's it. That's the last page. You saw the nasty stuff with them talking about kids and their own kids. And I skipped over the nasty testimony. Horrific. These people should have literally all been chained together and like concrete shoes and thrown into the water. But instead, the Process Church of the Final Judgment is giving them their 5 minutes of fame in their magazine, wishing them the best after that report was filed and released. And those are the people that line up with the Moonies and Scientology to create that front group that we discussed in the weird scenes inside the temple where we talked about that Jonestown report. Right? It makes me so mad. Like just the subterfuge with information, the obfuscation of information. This makes me very angry. This makes me deeply angry. Because don't get it twisted. This is not irrelevant to the son of Sam at all. Quite frankly, I think, as I've stated previously, that the children of God was a massive missing element because, Virginia is so freaking smart, you guys. She's so smart. So someone had, I don't know if it's like illegal to say that someone sent me the Netflix documentary, whatever. Anyways, so she has Netflix, and so I told her, please watch it. I said, please watch it, so that you kind of have an understanding of what I'm talking about and see the faces, the timeline, and it's very well produced. For propaganda, it's very well produced. And she made the excellent observation that they repeat throughout the documentary, and I wouldn't have noticed it, how heavily Catholic these districts were, right? And that Terry Maury, or Maury Terry, was a staunch Catholic. And so the demon hunting, the satanic cult, all of that sent him on a rabbit trail. And she said that she noticed an interesting correlation too, that it seemed like once he started getting into the Scientology angle, that's kind of when things went awry, right? That's when things seemed to go a bit awry. Now, I am going to let you guys know because the requests are already out there, and I am not going to file another one because I do think that it will put a red flag to FOIA. The issue with what happened to the late John Carr is not an open and shut case. And it's not. You know why? Because there were 2 FOIA requests made about his death and the investigation about his death. I had found in the Terry Maury, Josh Zeman files, whatever, I was trying to separate some of these PDFs and categorize them. And so I'm looking, and I notice, because I'd been talking to one of my subscribers on Twitter, and they were talking to me about the Office of Special Intelligence in a different country, in a different context. I had happened to be looking through one of John Carr's records, and it cites him under the Office of Special Intelligence for the Air Force. And I had a couple of vets reach out to me, and they said that his death, whatever it was, that OSI would have exclusive jurisdiction. They would have fingerprints, everything. They would have a tight record on what happened to the late John Carr. Yeah? So, there are 2 FOIA requests that were out there to the police department and to the Air Force. The latter is still pending, so I'm not going to add another one. But I have a very strong suspicion that what we have been told about the late John Carr is not the truth, because it doesn't really make sense unless they're trying to obfuscate the investigation. Why the hell the Office of Special Intelligence of the Air Force is allowing random cops onto the base to investigate a spoopy cult with dogs being killed, dogs being sacrificed. I'm not denying that those things happened. I'm not saying that. I'm asking in hindsight, this many decades later, we've made it this far. We've avoided the spooky stuff. I think that they sent that man on a wild goose chase, and they enhanced and highlighted and focused on those certain aspects for a reason. And I'm being dead serious. Because in my personal opinion, and thank you, Annie Kurtz. Thank you. You're amazing. Thank you so much for the birthday wishes, guys. Thank you. In my opinion, not only do I still think that the Son of Sam letters were a black PR campaign, fair game, being run on the Carr family specifically, whether in combination with the process and Scientology, because, well, what's the difference, right? I personally think that what we are seeing is a pregame, a massive pregame. And that's why I titled this The Pregame to the Satanic Panic. The pregame to the Satanic Panic. Because, in the grand scheme of things, what did we just have happen? We had Manson in California. The process was there. We know that, right? We also have some other serial killers that are going on. Let's not forget, right? Like Richard Ramirez. Yeah, ooh, real crazy. Ted Bundy, right? Ooh, real crazy. Ed Kemper, right? Ooh, real crazy. Couple others. Gacy, Candyman. Can't forget all that. But then we also have this going on over here. And yes, these cults existed. Yes, there are people who believe in these things, who will do these things. However, I think that the Son of Sam specifically was the major ramp up in the media, very likely funded by Vatican-backed agencies like the process, because they were, don't forget, those court records. We know that, right? Reverend Arthur Gibson, who was assisting them with their little PR campaign, okay? And quite frankly, you just saw the children of God were getting their help as well. But we don't see the children of God as like this satanic spooky cult, right? Even though one would argue that harming children and your own children in that way is an immediate death sentence, in my opinion. But I think that what we are seeing majorly here with these string of crimes specifically is the pregame to the Satanic Panic, an early pregame, straight up. I think that this is all connected in that way. Don't care if it sounds crazy. I had previously stated when I discussed the Human Radiation Experiments Committee with Bill Clinton, I think in like 93 or 94, that maybe some of the later testified on that hearing MK projects that, maybe some of that stuff was coming back. I think that it's a combination of both. I think that it's a combination of both. And this is also, a massive distraction from Iran-Contra. So again, I'm back to my original theory that the Satanic Panic is literally a distraction from Iran-Contra. And what Iran-Contra really was human trafficking, weapons trafficking, and drugs trafficking. They always leave out the human trafficking part though, right? Because people should not forget the Callboy scandal, the Franklin scandal, Craig Spence. Jeffrey Epstein was a busy boy before all of that. And we literally have the children of God international, right? They're going international. They're going big. They're going real, real big, right? And eventually, I have not forgotten, we are absolutely going to be talking about Dr. Carlton Gajusek, you know, 'Cause he was bringing kids up. I have found a couple testimonies of, like, the success stories from adult children of his, because he's someone who is named in the, Terry Maury files, and people kind of write it off, but there's also a couple of other names that have been, quote, unquote, "debunked" that I've been digging into that seems like there's some really suspicious stuff going on with those investigations. Like, extremely suspicious. But obviously, there's a lot of names, there's a lot of players, and so I have to, like, try and make it make sense to you guys, you know what I mean? But the John Carr stuff, that ain't a sealed deal, baby. Sorry, it's absolutely not. There wouldn't be 2 FOIAs out on John Carr if that was the case, quite frankly. I am trying to think if there is anything else that I am missing in particular. I'm sure that there is. It was a lot to cover. Honestly, guys, I'm sorry, like, the children of God is really rough for me. I don't like it. Uh, I didn't wanna show you guys, like, any of their actual propaganda because that is also extremely graphic and horrific. But now we know, thanks to the Attorney General and the process themselves, that the Process Church of the Final Judgment, the Children of God, Robert Grimston, they're all on Staten Island near Willowbrook. They just are. I'm obviously gonna have to try to find where the communes are in Staten Island specifically. But, I had pointed out on Twitter that, Robert de Grimston lived it was less than 6 miles from the first little girl that went missing off of Staten Island near Willowbrook specifically. And I think it was about 6 miles from, the second or third child that went missing. I made a little map. He's all right there. Because people should go watch that Cropsey documentary if you've seen the, Sons of Sam documentary. Soil Lodge was kind enough to find the Cropsey documentary for me on YouTube. It is extremely infuriating, but it's also directed by Mr. Josh Seaman, and it literally leaves out everything about the process. And when they ask the cop or the detective that they're interviewing about satanic cults and Willowbrook, the abandoned school for the mentally handicapped, they ask the man on camera, "Do the cults use kids?" And that asshole has the audacity to say, "I would rather not answer that question." He also says that he never interviewed Robert de Grimston, and Robert de Grimston was apparently still living there at the time. So, we have a very long way to go because there have been decades and decades and decades and many hands, including federal government, local government, business leaders, real estate, churches, whatever the hell you want. Pick one. Literally, shooting fish in a barrel. Pick it. But there have been a lot of people that have been working very, very hard to cover a lot of this up. A lot of it. For a reason. For a big reason, because I've already told you guys there's a lot at stake. Now, I'm going to end on this specifically because this is something that me and Virginia have been working on. And if you guys watch the Occult Rejects, Lisa, big, beautiful brain, also very beautiful, but big, beautiful brain, she gets a lot of the like lab stuff, the sort of like lab aspect of it when we're talking about best friends and things of that nature. Well, Virginia let me know that she had been working on something for a long time. And I don't know all the details of it because again, this is groundwork that she has laid and she has been working on for years. But apparently, the Vatican Bank had a very large, if not the largest amount of shares in reproductive medicine, certain companies. And there happens to be a study around that time in the early 90s that comes out. And they're doing this research and they're trying to figure out what DNA most closely resembles human DNA for reproduction. Some people call that cloning. Some people call it transhumanism, whatever the case may be. However, at that time, With that study, the animal that is selected or proven to be the most similar is dogs. And from what I understand, one of the higher ranking breeds in particular is Alsatians. And Alsatians, as you know, were not only Hitler's favorite dog, but they were also the dog of the Process Church of the Final Judgment, aka Best Friends Animal Society. If you are not on my Twitter, day before yesterday, I found a treasure trove of the original archive of all of the Best Friends magazines because just like the Process Scene, these other magazines, Visions of the Millennium, they also have a Best Friends one. And right around the time of this study showing that dogs, including Alsatians, have the most similar DNA that would be appropriate and functional for reproductive studies and use, we have all of the sudden Best Friends coming out with their no kill initiative. And what does that no kill initiative begin with? Spay and neuter. Spay and neuter. So it would seem that a lot of these things are coming full circle. And that doesn't mean that we're anywhere close to being done because we're going to be looking at the front groups. We're going to be digging into other process stuff because I still have a ton more stuff to show you guys. I can't even get through the newspapers today. I have a ton of stuff that I found in the newspapers, but I wanted to get through this hearing because it's just been like rotting in the back of my mind and I want to be done with it. And I do. However, the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, the Vatican is the heavy hand and the heavy financer behind this. That's not a conspiracy. Virginia has tracked the money. And I already told you guys what I think that they're doing out in Utah. Straight up. But, you know, we're going to get back into some of the more nuanced topics of the Son of Sam because I think that there are some really interesting ties not only with Israel specifically and one of the debunked people that died on a boat. I found them getting an alliance with them very early on. So I think that's an interesting avenue to explore as far as maybe human trafficking, maybe not. I don't really know. Weapons, drugs, who knows? And some other people, because a lot of these societies seem to be overlooked. So we have a long way to go, a really long way. But I'm not in a rush. I'm in this for the long haul, guys. And thank you guys so much for your patience with me. Thank you all for the kind words and the birthday wishes. It really, really means a lot. And I don't know what else to say. The children of God takes it out of me, if I'm just being honest. The children of God really takes it out of me. So I'm done thinking about that. We can deal with them in the newspapers, right? And we can deal with corporate records. We can deal with tracking names, tracking players. Because I want to know who the hell is on Staten Island with Robert de Grimston and the process. And I have a feeling that I'm going to be able to find them because I've been able to find every single one of these motherfuckers so far. Trust me. You ain't going to be able to hide from me forever. You know what I mean? But we're going to leave it here for now. And everyone stay safe. And I will talk to you all very soon.